Con, is white becoming the new black? Ice riots and Pauline problems, man. First and foremost, I want to say call halal Yahweh by Shema Mashiach Yahweh Shai. For everybody knew that's all praise to the Most High God, and His name is the only begotten Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. Man, and with my colleague here,
Kanye, oh, my fault. Jumped the gun a little bit. It's your boy Kanye Yak, man, out the Masada.
That's right, man. We got a lot to talk about tonight, man. Not really tonight, but this afternoon. Right, we're stuck in the house, snowstorm in Dallas. Pray for us. Pray our power stay on because, the grid, Greg Abbott talking about it's the strongest it's ever been. We're more prepared since 2021. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, all right, nigga. But, pray for us, though, that this power stays on because, Texas, right? We for some reason, we keep having a storm every year, but we're never prepared for it.
Right, no, dead ass, bro. That shit is crazy.
Yeah, but speaking of ice, they're doing it again. They've decided to end another of the lineage of evil. The lineage of Esau, LOE, and I'm starting to think by looking at this and looking at what's going on in the world, what ICE is doing in the world, I'm starting to really think white is becoming the new black. I'm starting to come to the conclusion. Oh, now y'all are finding out what it feels like that when you do anything, they kill you, and then they go on the news and lie about it. I'm like, oh man, I thought that was only reserved for us. I thought that was only reserved for niggas. Go ahead.
Hey man, all lives matter, man.
Yeah, I guess they do now.
All lives matter. All
lives matter, right? They do.
But we don't care.
Yeah. We don't care. All lives matter. They matter to a certain Israelite organization. But
yeah, imagine
but yeah, also, we're gonna talk about some Pauline epistles later, because Israelites are struggling out here. And the Israelites are struggling out here on this thing of ours, man. This thing of ours is like these debates, these lives, we're here to help. I'm here to offer assistance, right? But first and foremost, we have to talk about how white is becoming the new black. I'm starting to see it. I'm looking like, bro, we about to be up out of here, right? Because there's one thing about the lineage of evil, right? There's one thing about the lineage of evil that y'all are going to find out. They're not going to take that, right? Now, we've seen throughout history, we've seen them fight wars over them owning their slaves. We've seen them fight wars against Britain because they didn't want to take the oppression of Britain. They're not going to take that. So what that's going to ultimately lead to is prophecy being fulfilled, most of which we see in Revelation, Second Esdras, and some of the major and minor prophets, right? So let's look at this because I want people to be informed about what's going on in the world and what's going on in just Trump's seeming like never-ending reign, right?
Right.
Let's go into this.
Federal immigration officials have killed a second person in Minneapolis. Footage is circulating on social media. Through our tip line at Drop Site News, we obtained footage of it from the perspective of what appears to be the woman in pink who's filming it from the sidewalk. We want to show you that harrowing footage here. Viewer discretion is advised. And then after this, we're going to go through what DHS has said about the killing, and we're going to show other video perspectives of it. Let's roll this here.
Go. What the fuck is wrong with you? The fuck, people? The fuck is wrong with you? Honestly.
Go on, Mark.
Federal immigration officials in Minneapolis have shot and killed a second person. It is January 24th, a Saturday. And I'm going to start here with the statement from the Department of Homeland Security, and then we're going to run through some of the footage.
Now, right here, y'all are about to find out how white is becoming new black right here. Because hours after this happened yesterday, I really wish I could have went live yesterday. But hours after this happened, the government has their own take on what happened. So I want y'all, since y'all just seen what happened, I don't want to interrupt it because I know people do, right? After y'all seen what just happened there, I want y'all to listen to what the government says and see if that's what you saw. I just want to see. I just want to know. Oh, I clicked the wrong video. There we go.
So you can determine for yourself, how close to reality the statement that government officials released matches what actually happened. So let me put this up here. So this is from Fox News, which reports at 9:05 a.m. Central Time. This is the statement from DHS. As DHS law enforcement officers were conducting a targeted operation in Minneapolis against an illegal alien wanted for violent assault, an individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun, seen here. The officers attempted to disarm the suspect, but the armed suspect violently resisted. More details on the armed struggle are forthcoming. Indeed, they are. Fearing for his life and the lives and safety of fellow officers, an agent fired defensive shots. Medics on the scene immediately delivered medical aid to the subject, but the subject was pronounced dead at the scene. The suspect also had 2 magazines and no ID. This looks like a situation where an individual wanted to do maximum damage and massacre law enforcement. About 200 rioters arrived at the scene and began to obstruct and assault law enforcement on the scene. Crowd control measures were deployed for the safety of the public and law enforcement. This situation is evolving and more information is forthcoming. Okay, so let's take a look at what we know. So
now, is that what y'all saw? is that what you seen with your eyes? Because I've talked to people acquaintance of mine who aren't in my realm of like being a Hebrew Israelite or all these things like that. A lot of them just say ICE is just doing their job. They just I told you. Did I tell you about the cognac?
No.
So I got to a dispute in my job the other day about it's almost like ICE is just doing their job. Okay,
these niggas is crazy. These niggas are crazy, bro.
I just want to know, is that what you seen? Because I'm wondering how y'all are gonna spin this one. Because you're talking about he came in with a gun and intent to do X, Y, and Z. The man had his phone out.
You remember? So remember the woman that got shot in the car in Minneapolis, right?
Mm-hmm.
So did you watch that? Basically what they did on Redacted, talking about it.
Yeah.
You remember the old white dude was saying how she interfered with their job and their investigation, so they have every right to use force because she interfered with the investigation, and they're federal agents, they're not police. So he was basically vouching and saying they can do that. They can do that because she's technically a criminal because she's breaking the law. So it's there seems like to be a continuous spin of, even if you just getting in their way in general in any type of way, you really have to be ready to die about it, because either you're gonna have to kill them or they're gonna kill you.
Yeah, and the thing is about that is, and I would be, I would be okay with that. But the issue is when we looked throughout history, they don't afford Black people, really people of color, that same type of liberty of just if you resist, we're just gonna give you a warning shot. We're gonna just maybe hit you, maybe beat you, right? But if you were a so-called white person or the lineage of evil, right? If you're part of the lineage of evil, the LO, right?
You get a little more grace, you might get
Yeah, you've been given grace. We've never seen them just do this to the lineage of evil, right? And they're treating them like how we've been treated. They don't give you grace. They end your life. They immediately tell lies and say we have to wait for the investigation, right? And we've seen all these things with our eyes and just see what? Something's different now. right? Something is different now.
Yeah.
They're finally treating y'all like they've been treating us. Oh well, they were trying to obstruct and stuff like that.
Right, yeah. Stop resisting. Stop, all that.
Yeah. I'm looking like y'all just shoved the woman for no reason. And the man stood up for her. And yes, he was carrying, right? That's lawful for you to do as an American citizen, Second Amendment, right? You know, the same people who are in charge right now parakeet the Second Amendment all the time, but for some reason it doesn't apply when it's against them. But you know, that's neither here nor there. He was exercising his Second Amendment right? They took his gun from him, his pew-pew. I don't want to say that. They took his pew-pew from him, right? And then they said, gun. Oh, I said it, I did it again, right? But there's no way you can say that. That wouldn't make any sense if I put pew-pew there. But like they said that, and then they intended to kill this man. They unalive this man. That's what they do to black people. Y'all are finally feeling it. So you know what that started to make me think? That started to make me think now we're about to get to a point to where they're not about to care about anybody. We about to get in that Matthew 24 where Christ was talking about iniquity's going to abound.
Yeah.
Love of me to wax cold. Like we're getting there. That's what we need to understand. Because people, like you see black people talking about, oh, this isn't our fight. I mean, kind of, but at the same time, we're getting to a point to where this is going to spill over into something bigger.
See, and then Salaki, and then like just to kind of let me back on everything you're saying, like it's crazy how he's exercising his Second Amendment right, and within that Second Amendment, it's the reason you have the right to bear arms is really for whenever the government gets out of hand or when government officials, they abuse their authority. Mm-hmm. That was an example of them abusing their authority, and it still didn't matter. So it's like, it kind of goes back to that life and death situation. And then it's like it isn't our fight. And like, you know what I'm saying? I definitely agree. Like, because our tragedy, their tragedy is our Tuesday. This shit been happening. This shit been happening, and I stole that. I'm not gonna act like I just created that off the spot. I got that from Grits and Eggs podcast, right? But them, like, we've been asking for not reparations per se, but support, this and that. And you know, when we were screaming Black Lives Matter, what do you hear? All lives matter. It doesn't matter. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's not. But
they make good on their promise now that all lives matter.
All lives matter now. Yeah. They make it. You're right. You're 100% right. Yeah. And it's like now it's time for us to have affirmative action with ourselves, and it's more so like knowing how to protect yourself and knowing how to protect yourself spiritually. Mm-hmm. And like if this is not more time now than ever for anybody that isn't realizing what's going on to get close to the Father and build that relationship with God to have that hedge of protection, it probably will never come.
Yeah, you probably lost cause.
Yeah. Because like, if you can't white people get shot in the street, and you think you safe in America and you're one of the good ones, you're not like everybody else. Yeah, you're done for. Yeah, it's over with.
So let's continue in this, go. And then I got 2 more videos I want to show y'all, and I got some precepts too.
According to DHS, the person approached with a weapon. Let me pull up video that we now have that precedes the killing. That this is the same kind of backdrop to the killing that you're going to see later. This red building here. This is from a vehicle.
They ain't doing too much, man, and they keep pushing people.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is the actual killing itself. I want to show you a different video first. Hold on. Footage that was taken by a passerby before the altercation. This also tracks the beginning of the altercation. Okay, there. This is allegedly the man who soon after this will be killed. So he is filming the officers. You can see he's stepping back now. The officer is kind of pushing him back. He's going back.
He tried to use his white privilege. Look, because it's been cashing so long. It's just like, you know, I just thought I could make a purchase here, right? That's what he tried to do. It turns out his card is declined, right? And we all found Yeah, I just wanted to point that out.
Back in his hand, you can see a phone. According to DHS, this man approached officers with a 9mm. He's now looking back to make sure he doesn't slip on ice. Concerned for his safety. His life is about to be ended. And so immediately we see that no, this man was not any target of any enforcement operation. He was somebody there to observe what law enforcement was doing, and he did not have a 9mm. There's his second hand. Do you see his second hand there? No gun in the second hand. No gun in his left hand, and a phone in his right hand. Now,
but hold up, y'all got to understand that, like I said in the beginning of this, when this happened, and then hours later, you see the government. I forgot some gnome. I forgot her name. Like, but she went on there and said this man approached him with the gun, right, with the pew pew, right, approached him with his weapon, right. That pause actually approached him. There's so much inside joke going on with that. I don't even know what we're talking about with that one. But I mean, the bigger the profit. But you know,
I can't wait for the year to be over with already.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I was gonna say, but you see how the story is already fabricated? They're already lying. It was like 2 or 3 hours after this happened, and they're already literally telling you a lie. I said, this is only reserved for us. I've only seen that with us. You know, when George Floyd passed, all we saw was pictures like he was part of he was a gang member. Like every time one of us dies, immediately there's a picture of us looking like a gang member or brandishing a weapon or doing X, Y, and Z, right? But with these people, they're essentially doing the same thing. That's a character assassination. Like he's going there to actually inflict harm on these people. They're assaulting his character. It's a software version of it, because with us coming all these pictures and
it's quick,
unrighteous witnesses. But go ahead.
No, I was saying it's quick. Like instantly, the day after, if not a few hours, they didn't found an Instagram page. Just like remember, what's his name, Carmelo Anthony out here in Frisco. They put up pictures of him like with BB guns. And bro was like a 4.0 student athlete and everything, lives in Frisco, Texas, got money, like ain't got to do none of that, but he just got BB guns. But then the brothers that died, like they had guns and everything, camoed up, all that, but you don't see none of that until we got to dig it up. But it's in an instant, they'll find anything that we have,
But I was gonna say, it's like the thing is like they're doing it to them, but this is a softer version of it. But we've never seen them just do it to them like that.
Yeah,
that's why I'm like, oh no, it's about to be real. It's about to be real for us then.
Yeah,
if they doing them like that, you know, they'll be looking at me, man. You want some of this too? I said no.
Yeah.
But look at this.
Now, let's move to.
Yeah, let me skip ahead because I think he takes some time to find it.
Oh shit! What the fuck? They killed him? Did they fucking kill that guy? Are you fucking kidding me, dude? Not again! Are you fucking kidding me? That guy's dead.
Bro, wait a minute. I just noticed too. They said they immediately rendered aid. Is that what you saw?
Hell no.
They immediately rendered aid.
Buddy was just laid out in the street.
Yeah, like a dog.
Literally.
So this man has been pronounced dead. He was pronounced dead on the scene. Now I'm going to play for you the key moment that where DHS is saying that the man was armed and was attacking officers. You're going to see. Well, let's just let you see for yourself what you make of that claim.
This though, bro.
Okay, we can run this a few times so that you can get a close look at it. In that officer's right hand, you can see the gun right there.
From him already.
So he has pulled the gun at this point
Bro, these niggas are.
from the man's waistband. It is legal to carry a firearm in Minneapolis, by the way. So there he is. So they pull it out. He has not yet been shot. He is on his knees, He is on his hands and knees, surrounded by my count, 8 officers. At least 8. 8 you can see. Let's watch it one more time.
I ain't gonna lie, bro. If they took the strap from him and it's 80 on, you still feel
So he pulls that out.
In position of law enforcement.
So at this point, this man is unarmed. If they plan to effect some sort of arrest here, it's unclear what he did. You saw him; he was just filming the officers, and then they kind of push him down to the ground. He did, it seems like, struggle on the ground, but why they were pushing him to the ground in the first place is not at all obvious. There's nothing illegal about filming officers. Nothing illegal about having a firearm with you. So they take the firearm from him, and it's after that that you see the shots fired. So according to the Minneapolis Tribune, phones were being confiscated, and some, or according to people who were on the scene, police were trying to confiscate, or not police, but federal immigration officials were trying to confiscate phones, and that some witnesses were taken into custody. This is a developing story. We're going to learn a lot more about who this man is, who was just executed. We're going to learn about who the shooter was. We're going to hopefully get video from the woman in pink.
Look who it is, man.
Shalom, man.
Van Deacon eyes, man.
That's right.
Brothers wicked, man. I was out there in Houston. Gay niggas called. They didn't even answer the phone, bro.
Oh no!
They didn't answer the phone, bro. I couldn't believe it, bro. I couldn't believe it, bro.
I was locked in, man.
It's all love. I'm just BSing.
But so, hey, you caught up?
I see y'all going over the incident in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see what's going on, and it's getting real bad out here when they start snatching up white people. That's a different feeling right there, huh? Everybody right now.
I was like, oh, the gloves are off now. Okay,
all right. We're on this level now.
86, man. We're in the first month.
Okay.
Yeah, this shit is crazy.
If you scroll back, you'll see that there is a woman in pink who was filming directly, just feet away from the scene, and she's lucky that she wasn't killed herself. So there's a lot more to learn about this at this moment. But from the video that we have so far, this appears to be a man who was observing immigration officials while they were in the street, which is legal, who was carrying a weapon. Whether or not he had a permit for the weapon, we don't know at this point. It's not like you saw those federal immigration officials ask him if he had a permit. They pulled it out of his waistband and then executed him. We'll continue to follow this story, and we'll bring you news on it as it develops.
Yeah, so that's what I seen yesterday. I was like, yeah, we're going live. We're going live, and this is for everybody's information. This is Breaking Points. I think that this dude on the screen has another page called Drop Point and Drop Site. I forgot which one. They're both pretty good. Like if you're looking for news places that aren't CNN or Fox News that actually are independent, this is where I go. Add that and Redacted. Now, speaking of CNN, Fox News, well, this is ABC. Watch this. You're gonna love this. So, right before this even happened. This was 2 days ago. After they had already unalived that Nicole Good woman. Watch this.
To hear President Trump's team tell it. Minneapolis is on the brink of an all-out rebellion.
You can use the term insurrection. You can use the term domestic terrorism.
The Insurrection Act is a tool at the president's disposal.
With the deadly shooting of Renee Good by an ICE officer in broad daylight, sparking days of protest in the city and across the country. The Pentagon is lining up more than 1,500 troops, two defense officials tell NBC News, in case the president decides to invoke a 219-year-old law called the Insurrection Act. The law, signed by Thomas Jefferson, essentially allows the president to use troops on Americans to, quote, suppress an insurrection, domestic violence, unlawful combination, or conspiracy.
Yeah, you see that? You see that? They can literally use American troops on American citizens. You know what that kind of sounds like? Martial law. You know what also is a prophecy in the prophecies in the Bible? Martial law, right? Yep. Political uprisings, insurrections by name, all of that is there, right? Like, and speaking of, because you can see right here on the tab, this movie, I watched this last night, the Civil War movie, not about the ancient Civil War, not ancient, but the old one, but like one that could happen if Texas secedes and California secedes, and they go up against, I guess, the other Americans, people who were left in America. That's a great movie. I suggest everybody go watch that. But it's starting to look like that though right now, because the thing is, like I said earlier, the lineage of evil, lineage of Esau, LOE, right? You know, if this starts happening to them, they're not going to accept this. Like I said before, they didn't accept it from the British. They didn't want to accept it when they had to surrender their slaves. They don't accept it when you tell them they can't do something in general because of, you know, their hubris as a race and as a people, right? The lineage of evil. That's why they're called that. They're not going to accept that. So as long as this continues to happen unchecked, yeah, we know how these people act. And us being in the know as far as like what prophecy looks like and being Bible believers, we need to pay attention to things like this, because this is letting you know what time period you're in. We're not telling everybody, oh, let's pick up pitchforks and go out. No, we're not doing all that. You need to be patient and watch, like it talked about in 2nd Esdras, right? Measure the time diligently. This is us measuring the time diligently and being watchmen. Because a lot of people ain't talking about this. Or enough people ain't talking about it. You know, some people are replaying clicks about white people saying black people are Israelites. You know, something we've been seeing for the last like couple decades. But you know, we need to be watchmen. That's what we need to do. So let's continue with. Unless y'all got something y'all want to add.
It suspends the constitutional protections that prohibit the U.S. military from enforcing domestic laws. And it gives the president vast discretion to decide what is an insurrection.
The law is written in vague and archaic terms that don't provide clear boundaries for the.
So whenever they feel like it, that's what that means. There's no, it's archaic and it's like vague to where you can interpret however you want. That means they could do this whenever they want, which means it's always been the plan. And of course it is the plan, because we see what the Lord says.
President to invoke the law. That's why it's important to look at how the law has been interpreted and applied by the executive branch.
The president toying with the idea for years, like in his first term after the George Floyd protests launched a nationwide movement, or similar anti-ICE protests in Los Angeles, Portland, and Chicago over the last year.
If the governor can't do the job, we'll do the job.
I'd be allowed to use, if I wanted, the Insurrection Act.
So far, he's never committed, but saying on Tuesday, it's still very much on the table.
Do you still think it's necessary?
I don't think it is yet. It might be at some point. It is actually very common. You know, with me, they'll make it like a big deal, but it's been used by over 40% of the presidents during their term.
He's right that many presidents have used it. About 30 times over the years, Abraham Lincoln did, to essentially launch the Civil War.
Oh. He did it to essentially launch the Civil War. Okay. You know, wow. What does that sound like? You know, let me go ahead and circle this right here. What does that sound like? You know, that's where we are, right? And you know what starts that is insurrections in a lot of cities. Now I bring that up because the Bible talks about that. Watch this. Can you read it for me?
Yeah, I got you.
I need to zoom it in.
I can just be good like that.
All right. Go ahead.
Con, this is the book of 2 Esdras, chapter 15, and verse 16. There will be great political turmoil with one group trying to overpower another and gain control. While ignoring the legitimate government, there will no longer be free access to the cities.
Boom.
Because
that's what we're seeing. That's what we're on the precipice of seeing, right? I'm not gonna just be a false prophet and say, "Oh, it's gonna happen tomorrow," or "This could be." No, we're seeing things getting closer and closer and closer to this. This has to happen. That's what the Lord said, right? God. But we're seeing things inch closer and closer and closer to that. Us being in the know, and people who need to measure the time diligently, basically pay attention to the current events that's going on around you. You're watching for this. And that's what we're seeing with all these things with ICE, with white becoming the new black, right? You know how they say orange is the new black, so white is becoming the new black.
Yeah.
And that's what we're getting closer and closer and closer to seeing, man. Yeah, continue.
Come, verse 17. There will no longer be free access to the cities, because the struggle for power will bring destruction, terror, and total confusion wherever people live. Driven by famine and terrible suffering, people will assault their neighbors and mercilessly plunder their possessions.
Well, the pause right there, right? And that's something we're already kind of there in a way, because it talks about terrible famine and suffering. That's going to be brought on by the economy. You know, if anybody's been paying attention in the last 2 years, gold and silver prices, why they've been skyrocketing?
Going crazy.
Because the government keeps printing money. People don't want these bonds that they're giving that they're trying to sell off to people. That causes a downturn in a weakness in your dollar just in general, your currency. Because when you look at, I watched that Civil War movie yesterday. When they were trying to get gas, this is like early in the movie, when they were trying to get some gas, they try to offer to do $300. He said, that's not $300 is only going to buy you a sandwich. And then they said, well, yeah, that's what they said. That's only going to buy you
a sandwich is crazy, nigga.
They said, what was it? They said, well, we got $300 Canadian. It's okay, we'll take that. I was like, damn.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that movie, bro. I'm telling you, y'all go watch that. I paid $3 on YouTube to go watch that movie. Go watch that movie, bro.
That's crazy to think about. Like, if you had $300 and make it America, like, what you gonna do with that? Bro, the thought of that is like, Jesus. You're gonna have to start robbing. You're gonna have to. Yeah. Oh, he froze.
So like, y'all don't know what happened, bro.
But that's gonna cause people, because when you look at the world at that time, when you in that movie, right? When you look at the world at that time in that movie, people are robbing people. People are taking over cities, watching over cities with long guns, and just being. I think the word is dystopian. It's like a dystopian society around everywhere.
Yeah,
in the United States, right? That's what this looks like. And we already see how the economy is going. Look at it. I even talked about this in a video maybe last week, about how beef prices are expected to soar by 60%. And what's driving that is because of that artificial inflation that they did during COVID. And now at the same time, you got more McDonald's churning out burgers at record prices to the point that not just McDonald's, but fast food in general, churning out burgers and beef in ways into record levels, to where y'all churning out more hamburgers than there are cows.
Yeah,
that's about to soar. Like it's about to get to a point where beef is going to be a luxury in 2026. That's what people are reporting. I don't know why nobody's talking about it. Bro, matter of fact, I went to the store the other day and saw some meat prices. I was like, you know what? Yeah, we about to go ahead and get some chicken and salmon.
Yep. Last night, walked in there, tried to get some. I said, nah, chicken always. But,
you know what? Them wings never did me wrong.
You see how you buy and say brisket damn near 70. If you want like a real choice, that shit $100 easily. Like that's bottom level, like the $100, bro. Anything,
don't talk about Wagyu.
Yeah, don't even say that. Don't even say that.
Don't even talk about you want to get some lamb. Like for
Man,
one
bro.
shoulder, I think it's like $12.
Bro, that shit is crazy. Piece of meat this big.
A shoulder.
Yeah, that is crazy. They gonna clearly be doing that too. But that's it. But yeah, can you continue?
God. I'm gonna start back in 19. Driven by famine and terrible suffering, people will assault their neighbors and mercilessly plunder their possessions. God says, I am calling together all the kings of the earth to come north, south, east, and west to turn back and restore what they have taken. I will pay them back with the same harsh treatment they have always given to my chosen people, the Lord says. I will use my power, and there will be no mercy for sinners. I will put to death all who have murdered innocent people. My anger has become so fierce that fire has blazed out to burn up the foundations of the earth and to burn up sinners like straw. Sinners who do not keep my commands are doomed, says the Lord.
No, so you stop right there. So now it's talking about he's going to restore all the things that they've taken from the Lord's chosen people. Now, what that's making reference to is Babylon, right? Because we see the places are going to be on fire, but there's one named place where it's going to have an ultimate destruction. And what's said about that place is going to have the ultimate destruction by fire. It talks about them repaying what they did to the Israelites, right? And we're going to see what that's going to look like. Go ahead and read this.
This is Revelation chapter 18 from the top. After this, I saw another angel coming down from heaven, having great authority, and the earth was made bright with his glory. And he called out with a mighty voice, Fallen, fallen is Babylon the Great. She has become a dwelling place for demons, a haunt for every unclean spirit, a haunt for every unclean bird, a haunt for every unclean and detestable beast. For all nations have drunk the wine of the passion of her sexual immorality, and the kings of the earth have committed immorality with her, and the merchants of the earth have grown rich from the power of her luxurious living.
So you can pause right there, right? So it talks about they've drank the wine of the passion of her sexual immorality. That's the word of the LOE, right? The legion of evil and the lineage of evil, lineage of Esau. Their mind state and their being, their philosophy is walk the earth. Right, and not only has they walked the earth, we also see in this passage where it says the merchants of the earth have grown rich through the power of her living. Now you look at the way Americans live, being consumers and living off a consumerist economy, right? You see how all nations who deal with America build their economies off of what they sell to America, right? They're gonna when America falls. They can't afford to buy from them anymore. Oh, they're going to be very pissed off because that's taking money from their economy, right? When America falls, that's when that light's going to be extinguished. You see in Isaiah chapter 60 where it talks about this gross, like in the beginning of Isaiah 60, there's gross darkness covering the earth, right? And the light, the glory and the light is going to appear unto Jacob and Israel. Why is that? Because we're going to be risen up in their place. How America's being a great superpower over the world, we will be a great superpower in the world, right? And people are going to come to us and look at us for after they've served. But I'm talking about in the eternal kingdom after they've served and did X, Y, and Z. People are going to go to us for trade. People are going to look to us for light and wisdom. People are going to look to us like how they looked to America as that golden city, right? This right here, what we're reading about the luxurious living, the merchants, the sexual immorality, this only fits America. Like nobody else. People like to say this is making reference to the system over the world, and that doesn't make any sense because if it's the system all over the world, Babylon is supposed to cease to exist. So the entire world is going to cease to exist? That doesn't work with prophecy.
No.
Right? And I want to talk about things like that because that's something that gets left on the wayside and people don't talk about that much. We just brush right over it. But these are things like this you could use if somebody wanted to debate you on that topic of what is America, where does America fit in prophecy, who is this ancient Babylon. These are things I've seen Bug Out say is different things throughout my entire time of being in the truth. Now, like Oz, I know you done heard a Bug Out say some madness about Babylon. Like even Christians, Babylon is Israel. Babylon is the whole world.
It's an ideology. It's a mindset.
It's a mindset.
No. How's a mindset? How is everybody making money off of the mindset? It's talking about murder. East Saudi Arabia. Right. I'm glad that died.
Oh my God.
I'm so happy that died. But we can continue with this. Go ahead.
Verse 4. Then I heard another voice from heaven saying, "Come out of her, my people, lest you take part in her sins, lest you share in her plagues. For her sins are heaped high as heaven, and Yahweh has remembered her iniquity. Pay her back as she herself has paid back others, and repay her double for her deeds. Mix a double portion for her in the cup she mixed, as she glorified herself and lived."
Right. And that's them getting paid back for what they've done. They're going to get that double portion. Not only are you going to be destroyed by fire, your nation is going to crumble just like how Rome did. You outstretched your army, your economy went to crap, right? You know, because I'm trying to do better, right? It went to crap, right? You're going to get overrun. All these things is in prophecy, in the combination of Revelation, Second Esdras, and the major prophets, right? That's what's going to happen to them. That's coming, and that's how they're going to get paid back for what they've done to us, because we had to serve here for centuries, and still to this day are serving here, right? We, like the prophecies talk about, we put our money in pockets full of holes. When I get my paycheck, it's gone that day.
Literally,
it's gone that day, bro.
Oh, we was just talking about that yesterday. Brother Dawala was like, "Man, it's crazy that you work this hard for you to get a check." And he said, when you hit your camp, you damn near don't want to even look at it because you know it's not yours.
Yep.
Yeah, for real.
Yep. But you continue.
Verse 7. As she glorified herself and lived in luxury, so give her a like message of torment and mourning. Since in her heart she says, "I sit as a queen, I am no widow, and mourning I shall never see." For this reason her plagues will come in a single day, death and mourning and famine, and she will be burned up with fire. For mighty is the Lord God who has judged her.
And that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. That's that fire. We read in Second Esdras about how the Lord's going to burn up the foundations of the world. That's that. That's what that looks like. That's what they're going to get. And that's all of this. What the tipping point for all of this to happen? Martial law, insurrections. We see this. Like, that's why I'm saying, like, this year, this is going to be a really telling year.
Yeah, 26 is about to be crazy. I can already
like you said, so we ain't out the first month. We ain't out the first month.
Out here wilding, bro.
Nigga that snatched the president from Venezuela, sent ice out on niggas, and like, bro, this is crazy.
Yeah. Hey, Trump Hawaiian for real.
Trump Hawaii, straight crash out. Straight crash out.
I'm trying to tell him, I'm like, yeah, Trump not playing. You these other presidents, they was just a face. No, Trump not playing with y'all. He don't give a damn about if you black, white, Mexican, it don't matter. You gonna get in line.
No, for real.
We're gonna see that too, because this is one of the YouTubers I watch. One of my favorite ones. Like his name is The Amazing Lucas. Like if you wanna watch political content and be entertained at the same time by a black man who really isn't a raccoon, this is who you go watch, right? But look, this is where I got the inspiration to title this the way I did. It says, "White people are getting the black experience in Minnesota."
It looks like white is the new black.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So I'm sure many of you guys are aware, unless you've been living under a rock, that ICE has taken down another American, another white American. Just want to point that out. The first one was a white woman, and this individual was a white man, I believe to be an RN. And it seems, as I said in the intros, that white is the new black. So what I will be doing as a service to the people, the American people, I will be doing a world tour, okay? I will be starting off in Minneapolis and just traveling the states. And what I will be doing is trying to help white people, in this transitional phase of their newfound blackness, just to help them assimilate a little bit more. Because
that was funny.
This trial phase of the newfound blackness. He's gonna make it I'm telling you, man, he's about to give them the breakdown for it. Like how you gotta navigate the world with knowing knowing that they canceled your account for your white privilege. You know, that card, you can't swipe that.
It don't exist no more.
This is how this administration is treating y'all.
Damn.
Now, I don't mean to make light of the situation, but I think they're losing their minds right now. That's what's happening. All this, white privilege and all that is gone to the wayside. Now you are the new black. Okay, they are now treating you like they treat black men and black women. And I know that you're not very aware of what really goes down. Okay, because I know y'all were very much, some of y'all, not all of you, but some of y'all. I know some of y'all were really sad when Charlie went away. Okay, y'all were jumped right on the bandwagon of, hey, he's the MLK, he's just like MLK and everything. They just getting you for words. And it's like, okay, well, if you want to be like one of them, well, now you are truly one of them. And it's just it goes downhill from there. So within my curriculum, we'll go over how to introduce yourselves, how to, fake names when doing job interviews, because you don't want to use your regular name. Okay, that'll trigger the system. How to engage when going into grocery stores, going into just regular shops. Just understand there's probably gonna be someone who follows you and stuff like that. How to engage with law enforcement. I don't know what's going on right now, but I'm not even gonna go into the story that surrounded this shooting. And the reason why is it doesn't matter. Yes, I know. Just take some time. I know that's probably a bit much for you to hear, but being the new black, the story doesn't matter. All right. What they will try and do is vilify you no matter what. I know that's not fair. I know that the facts aren't even out and they're already saying this person was in the wrong.
An individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. The officers attempted to disarm this individual, but the armed suspect reacted violently. Fearing for his life and for the lives of his fellow officers around him, an agent fired defensive shots.
Not like
Bro,
this.
that is so crazy. Like hearing you say it, and then what you just said, and seeing it, that is crazy.
It's crazy.
That is crazy.
I'm telling you, bro. They ain't never did that to Caucasians, bro. I mean, you, bro. The armed assailant, he fired defensive shots. We've seen them take the strap from him. We've seen it. And you still lying, and she admitted to watching the videos. So you literally are lying. That's wild, bro. I thought that was only for us. If it happened on us, like, okay, this is the same game plan. They pick up. They're like Kevin Patullo from the Eagles. Like,
yeah, bro.
They put one play in it and just run Saquon up the middle. That's what I'm used to when it comes with us. But I never thought they was gonna do y'all like that. I never thought they was gonna do y'all like that, bro. That shit is crazy.
Yes, that is the new black. That's what we've been going through this entire time. I'm just now you're experiencing it firsthand. So I know y'all were thinking, well, we're going to use our white privilege to help you guys. Looks like that card is expired during this administration. Or at least the liberal white privilege. Y'all have been stripped from it. Okay, y'all practically like everyone else now. Before you guys were like Superman and Superwomen, and like, hey, leave them alone. Now they're going to shoot both of us. I don't know what we're doing here right now.
He's out of line, but he's right.
You saw Kristi Noem talk about, hey, this person was violent. They had a 9mm.
You just made claims that the individual posed a threat to law enforcement.
That is no claim. It is the facts. The facts of this situation. This individual showed up to a law enforcement operation with a weapon and dozens of rounds of ammunition. He wasn't there to peacefully protest.
Not like this.
We had them talk about, I believe it was on Fox News, talking about, hey, what type of person carries a 9mm?
Don't let the left kid you with this, that this is just a normal protest where people are peacefully protesting. No, it's not. Peaceful protesters don't have 9mm weapons with 2 extra magazines.
I tried to tell you guys that, hey, these people were hypocrites when it came.
So you telling me your right to bear arms don't exist no more?
It's over with.
It's over with, bro. The Constitution, what are you talking about? You're walking around with a 9. You're a threat.
But y'all remember what Kyle Rittenhouse had? That nigga was down the streets with an AR-15.
With an AR, bro. I just watched the video of a white man saying he was against guns, but now after he's seen even ICE agents grabbing and snatching up people, he said he bought his first AR-15.
Yeah, he activated his blessing. You know,
activated the sword.
He activated the sword. It's like they're sleeper agents. But the crazy thing is, like, with the most ironic thing about this is that's what the Second Amendment was created for, just in case the government, just in case the I guess LOE's forefathers back when they wrote the Constitution and Bill of Rights XYZ, they looked into the future that this might happen one day, and now it's happening one day. This is the day it's happening, right? That, you know, the government's gonna do whatever they want, and you know, like I'm gonna be honest with you, right? You know, if you haven't, how do I say this without YouTube playing? If you haven't applied the Second Amendment, I suggest you try to apply it before there is no Second Amendment.
Yeah, you need to stock up. You need to stock up.
If you understand what I mean when I say that, you know, I like in Texas, you know, you grew up with that, so I mean that's just what we.
Not literally.
But like I was gonna say, like, you know, if you haven't applied it, this might be a good time to, you know. Let's continue.
Came to the Second Amendment because based off the bump stock, right? Based off the bump stock, man, all these pro-gun advocates, you know, the Colin Noir, you know, the tap dancing Negroes, the rest of them were all like, well, you know what? It's not that big of a deal. I don't really use bump stocks. Pam Bondi was the one, okay, who was listening to Trump when he was like, hey, maybe we should take away the guns and then give them due process. This is the same people y'all voted in, Republicans. Just want to let y'all know. And I know there's probably some lefties out there that voted for him as well. So I don't know what to tell you. I just the only thing I can be is kind of a mentor in this process. That's the only thing I really have to offer you, because you can see
they get what Uncle Ruckus say here?
Reverse
vitiligo. Yeah,
they getting vitiligo. It's getting dark. They're getting some melanin, man.
That they're now blaming you for your Second Amendment right of carrying a gun. And any black person knows you do not engage with law enforcement while carrying a piece. No. That's a guaranteed way to go bye-bye. That's a guaranteed way. That is straight to the morgue. You might as well drive yourself, okay? Damn. Now, I know you being white and all, you not having the same experiences, you may be like, well, Lucas, I have a Second Amendment right, okay? I didn't pull the gun out. All right, it was concealed, and I have a right to conceal. I know, boo-boo. I know. We got a lot to learn. Okay, we got a lot to learn. All right, that's not how that works as a newfound black person. That's not how that works at all. So as we saw, once they said gun, right? Gun, you got a gun. You're done, Joe. Bye, night. Now resisting while you have a piece on you is the craziest thing you could do. I just want to let you guys know that as a newfound black person, that is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Unless you did not want to exist that day, that is what you do. You know, hopefully this is a lesson to other white people out there, whether you're liberal, whether you're Republican, and you disagree with what's going on with ICE. I understand. But like I said, right now is not the time, okay? Right now is not the time to use that white privilege card because they rejected it, okay? It's coming back declined. I'm just letting you know, okay? I'm just letting you know.
Everybody want to be a nigga, but nobody want to be a nigga. How about that question?
I wish you all the best of luck. I'm here for you guys in case you have any questions. Hey, Lucas, what car should I drive? Should I drive this car? What about the tinted windows? That's a no. Don't do that. Don't do that. don't do that. Even if it's legal in your state, don't do it. Okay. There's a lot of rules, a lot of unspoken laws that you guys have to you just have to consume it, right? You're just gonna have to you're gonna have to take an expedited course. As I said before in this video, I don't mean to trivialize this person's demise, but that's how they're treating you when it comes to the news. They're going to justify it. We saw what happened with Renee Good. They're going to justify it. They're going to say you were violent. They're going to question as far as why you had a gun in the first place. Only criminals have guns while walking up to police. I know. I can see you're bawling right now. I'm a nigga. I know. It's exactly what Paul Mooney said, right?
You know what? Let me see if I can. I need to get one more. That's pretty much the end of that. But let me.
He said, "I'm a nigga." Oh my God!
Let's see if I can find it. There's one more clip. I hope I can find it. Oh yeah, there it is.
This is the Onion News Network, keeping you safe from the lies.
Stabbing a classmate to death. We begin tonight with an update on a story we've been following all week. Hannah Stevenson, the 16-year-old girl from Detroit, accused of stabbing a classmate to death with a screwdriver last month. At her arraignment this afternoon, Hannah received the harshest possible sentencing from the judge. She will be tried as a Black adult.
Due to the extreme and violent nature of this crime, this court finds it fitting to try the defendant as an African American. Henceforth, he will be referred to for the jury by the name Mondale Brown.
Mondale Brown.
Mondale Brown. Mondale Brown.
Look how she was.
Hannah received the harshest possible sentencing from the judge. She will be tried as a Black adult.
Due to the extreme.
You're gonna treat me like a nigga?
And violent nature of this crime, this court finds it fitting to try the defendant as an African American. Henceforth, you will be referred to for the jury by the name Mondale Brown.
Once the trial begins next week, all courtroom images of Hannah will depict her as a 300-pound muscular Black man, and jury members will be instructed to imagine her as such.
We're going to do our best to make sure that Hannah is treated with the sympathy and sensitivity that she, as a photogenic white girl, deserves.
This is America. Nobody deserves to be treated as a Black man.
Now that Hannah has been ruled Black, the court has instructed local media to assume she's guilty, and the police have retroactively charged her with assaulting her arresting officer. Hannah's 24 character witnesses have been replaced by been ruled Black.
They retroactively charged her with assaulting the arresting officer.
The court has instructed local media to assume she's guilty, and the police have retroactively charged her with assaulting her arresting officer. Hannah's 24 character witnesses have been replaced by a single crack addict who goes by the name of Skaggs. Hannah's parents are, of course, planning to appeal the ruling, saying that their daughter should at most be tried as a Black celebrity or a stunningly beautiful Filipino lady. Every time I hear a story like that, it makes me so glad I'm exempt from the legal system.
When you follow facts,
and now the thing is, now they're no longer exempt.
Yeah.
now you don't have that luxury no more. And it's I just want to say that, what made me think about? This made me think about that this might help certain Israelites ideologies now. See, they're going through the curses now. So I mean,
they're going through the curses now. They was in the old covenant, bro. They been going through the curses.
Been going through it, bro. This them being joined to the people.
Hey,
yeah, imagine that. Imagine.
Hey, when one of them come convert, you got to give them a name like Mondale Brown. You're not Brown.
What a crazy, bro. That I ain't gonna lie, that's one of the funniest things I've seen in a long time, bro. Like in a long time. But yeah, let's look at this, man. You know, so is this on the screen? Yeah, I'm gonna hit this one. So yeah, we can go with this. We can now segue. You know, I just wanted to bring that to people's attention so they're prepared for the lineage of evil or lineage of Esau to now be right there with you. You know, after this happened, I'm pretty sure they're gonna start trying to say the N-word, you know. Like when a rap song comes on and the part where the N-word comes on, they're just gonna go ahead and say it. So you guys just be prepared to react a certain type of way. You know, that's what's gonna happen. But yeah, we can now segue into our Pauline issues, right? So there's been narratives forwarded with Pauline epistles. Hold on, is that whose microphone is that? Karen, is that you?
What does it sound like?
It sounds like it's feeding back what I'm saying. Mic check, mic check. Yeah, that's you. You can't turn your volume down a little bit.
Yeah. I got
it. I hear myself every time I'm saying something. But I was gonna say, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah. So there's a narrative been pushed with Romans 5 and 1 Corinthians 15. We're gonna talk about those things, and we're gonna show how it doesn't make any sense for what's being forwarded. According to the text, you know, we're gonna that's what we're gonna do today. So I want to read these. I'm gonna read them, and then I want to give a microwave breakdown because I know certain Israelites, you know, they don't like to go any deeper than surface level. So I want to give that part of the breakdown first. Then I want to itemize it. So let's read this first, because Paul's really saying the same thing in both epistles. So in Romans 5 and 18, it says, "Therefore, as one trespass led to condemnation for all men, so one act of righteousness leads to justification and life for all men." So they'll say, okay, now all people can now be justified, right? Because of this. So since Adam died, since Adam brought death on all people, that means Christ is going to bring justification unto all people. Now, my issues with this is, because one thing that will be forwarded is Paul consistent with all men, or is he consistent with justification? And that leads me to read the rest of his epistle and see if that's so, because it says this one act of righteousness leads to justification of all and life for all men. Let's see what Paul says 3 chapters later. So Romans 8, and let's start at 29, right? So Romans 8 and 29 is, for whom he foreknew, he also predestinated to be conformed to the image of his son, in order that he might be the firstborn among many brothers. And those whom he predestined, he also called, and those whom he called, he also justified. This is justification, which we were talking about earlier in Romans chapter 5. That's apparently for all people. Let's see. According to Paul. So I'm going to read that again. Romans 8 and 30 is, and those whom he predestinated, he also called, and those whom he called, he also justified, and those whom he justified, he also glorified. What then shall we say to these things? If God is for us, who can be against us? He who did not spare his own son, but gave him up for us all, how will he not also with him graciously give us all things? Who shall bring any charge against God's elect? It is God who justifies. That's who's getting the justification according to Paul's epistle. So if we want to talk about consistency, if we're going to go with Romans 5, where it says the justification is for everybody, 3 chapters later, Paul says it's not for everybody, it's for the elect. Now, the only way we can make that work with what you're saying in Romans chapter 5 is that all people are the elect. Now, that doesn't make sense, because that means nobody's the elect. If everybody's chosen, that means nobody's chosen. I need people to understand that. The elect is going into the chosen. So we can easily go to a Bible verse where it talks about the elect. Hey, Oz, can you get that?
Bro.
What's up?
Were you trying to have the verses on screen? Because if so, it was stuck on Romans 5 the whole time.
I wish you would have told me that before I did all this. I'm just
I wanted to, but you was going in, and I didn't want to, like, because he was flowing. So I was like, I'll just wait. But yeah. It was still stuck on Romans 5.
This guy. So give me I gave the breakdown, but give me Isaiah 45.
Let me get there real quick. The book of Isaiah, chapter 45. You want this in the KJV?
Yeah, read it again.
Okay. This is Isaiah 45 and verse 4. It says, "For Jacob my servant's sake, and Israel mine elect, I have even called thee by thy name. I have surnamed thee, though thou hast not known me."
So right here, we see Israel called the elect. We know that by just reading the Bible. We don't really need a Bible verse to even elaborate on that. But it says verbatim that Israel is the elect. So I would need to see where somebody else is the elect. Because if you can't furnish that, then your explanation of Romans 5 is now incomplete.
So
It called. Go ahead.
This is Isaiah 41 and 8. It says, "But thou, Israel, art my servant, Jacob, whom I have chosen, the seed of Abraham, my friend." So we just to double down, there's too many verses in the Old Testament, especially Isaiah, who Christ said prophesied well, let you know the elect, the chosen, comes from the seed of Abraham, aka Jacob.
Mm-hmm. And that's it's so easy to understand that when you just read Paul's epistles instead of isolate them like Christians do. So when you go to Romans, let's go to Romans real fast. We're talking about the justification. We're talking about the glorification as well. So can one of y'all read this for me? Like Romans 9, and we're gonna start at.
Do you got it on the screen up? Because we can't see it over.
I forgot everything.
That's it 4.
Slack. 12.
Go, Kanye, go ahead and read from the company.
I got you, Val. This is the book of Romans, chapter 12.
Start at verse 14.
Okay. This is the book of Romans, chapter 9 and verse 14. What shall we say then? Is there injustice on God's part?
Hold up. Slack guy. Let's go up. I don't know why I didn't want to read this. Let's read this. So we're talking about the being chosen, the election. I don't know why I didn't want to start at 6. Start at verse 6.
This is the book of Romans, chapter 9 and verse 6. But it is not as though the word of God has failed. For not all who are descended from Israel belong to Israel. Mm-hmm. And not are all children of Abraham, because they are his offspring. But through Isaac shall your offspring be named.
Be what?
This means, keep going.
No, but hold on. It said, "In Isaac shall your offspring be named." In other translation means like chosen or called, right? This is making Romans 9 is making reference to the election that Paul talked about. Like we can play games with anybody can be the elect, but Paul clarifies who the election is in Romans chapter 9 from verse really from verse 1 all the way to the end, damn near. Like this whole chapter is about election. So you can continue.
God. So verse 8. This means that it is not the children of the flesh.
My bad. I didn't break that down. So in verse 6 and 7, you'll see Christians like to use this and say, well, not everybody who's of Israel are of Israel. This is making reference to the Commonwealth of Israel at that time. You have who else? You have Ishmaelites there. You got Edomites there. They're descendants of Abraham, but they're not the ones who's been chosen or elected. That's what's being made reference right here. That's why in verse 7 it says, "And not all are the children of Abraham, because they are his offspring through birth, lineage." It said, "But through Isaac shall your offspring be named." Who? The chosen. Who's Isaac's lineage? Jacob and the Israelites. So we continue.
Verse 8. This means that it is not the children of the flesh who are children of God, but the children of the promise are counted as offspring.
Now hold up. Now it said the children of the promise. Who are the children of the promise? Read verse 4.
Verse 4. They are Israelites, and to them belong the adoption, the glory, the covenants, the giving of the law, the worship, and the promises.
Boom.
Excuse me.
Now check this out. Let's go back to verse 8. So we know who the children of the promise are. It's the Israelites, verbatim, according to what Paul says. Go ahead.
This means that it is not the children of the flesh who are the children of God, but the children of the promise are counted as offspring. Mm-hmm. For this is what the promise said: About this time next year, I will return, and Sarah shall have a son. And not only so, but also when Rebekah had conceived children by one man, our forefather Isaac, though they were not yet born and had not either good or bad, in order that though they were not yet born and had done nothing either good or bad, in order that God's purpose of election might continue, not because of works, but because of him who calls.
No, stop right there. The God's purpose of election. So we already see in prophecy. This is where Paul's getting all this from, right? Because matter of fact, let's just go back up to this. I can make that point all together. So in Romans 9:4, Paul says they are Israelites to whom belong the adoption, the glory, the covenants, the giving of the law, the worship, and the promises. He's saying this because there's a corresponding Old Testament Bible verse for this. Like with the adoption, that comes through Christ's death. That's Isaiah 53, Isaiah 59, right? The glory, Isaiah 60, and Isaiah 62, right? The covenants, old and the new. We already know who was unjoined into the old one. The new covenant, Jeremiah 31:31, Hebrews 8:8, is for Israel and Judah, right? Giving of the law, that's Psalms 147:20. The worship, that's really going into like the things that happen at the tabernacle or the temple. And the promises, all throughout the promises, he says, I'm going to give this to your seed. So he already had an understanding of who the election are based off of the Old Testament or Old Covenant, the scriptures. So for what, and this is where he's drawing his understanding from. So when people forward the ideology that now people who are not a part of that seed can now receive a certain type of justification prior to the deliverance of Israel, equating it to the deliverance of Israel or anything like that, you have a problem, because that's not like, you make Paul inconsistent. Because what's being forwarded is Paul consistent here, Paul. Well, no, you're making him inconsistent. Right here, like Romans 8 and Romans 9, you're making him inconsistent. That's what's happening. So when we go back down to this in Romans 9.
Yeah, I was about to say, even if you go to Ephesians chapter 2 and just putting all this together, it makes no sense. If Paul is I'm just gonna say this, if Paul is talking to Israelites, Paul he makes no sense. It doesn't even, like, they might as well just had to set him down, because when I'm reading through, I'm just being for real. We're reading through these letters, and I'm learning about Paul. I'm understanding he's a man of God, and everything he's teaching is from Moses and the prophets. But then you're gonna sit here and tell me he's teaching something that we can't even find in the Old Testament? I have a problem with that.
Because that's what you're gonna have to admit.
Yeah,
that's what you have to admit. Like all this, we have to go here and do. We don't know. Damn, all these arguments. Show me this here, and if you can't find it here verbatim, you're saying he's just adding, and that's like, we're not doing that. Like that's why I left the church. I need people to understand that.
Yeah,
I didn't leave. Well, where did I go to when I was a kid? My mom forced me to shop Christian House of Prayer. Right? I didn't go to Christian House of Prayer and eat a pork chop. Not pork chop. What they have? That freaking pig in the blankets right after church. They were giving people pig in the blankets. I left that behind me. I didn't leave that behind to join that again. Like I'm sorry, it's not happening.
Shit, right. Unfortunately, I had to leave twice. So
you don't have to leave twice. Yeah,
I had to leave twice, dog.
Yeah, but this, bro, like all is happening in Romans 9 is the Lord. He's using the Lord's text to tell you about how election works. And he says prior to this chapter, the people who are being glorified and justified are the election. So we can't, if we're going to let Paul be correct from point A to point B, it can't be all people there in Romans 5 and not that in Romans 8 and Romans 9. That doesn't work, right? So continuing this.
God, verse 12. She was told the older will serve the younger. As it is written, Jacob I love, but Esau I hated. What shall we say then? Is the injustice on God's part? By no means. For he says to Moses, I will have mercy on whom I have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I have compassion. So then it depends not on human will or exertion, but on God who has mercy. For the scripture says to Pharaoh, for this very purpose I have raised you up, that I might show my power in you, and that my name might be proclaimed in all the earth. So then he has mercy on whomever he wills, and he hardens whomever he wills.
Now check this out right here. The Lord is really Paul telling you about predestination. You know, I talked to one of my colleagues that I talked to from that what's it called? That Christian event I went to about predestination. This is Paul literally telling you about predestination. Like Christians say, oh, you just believe in Calvinism. Well, we see predestination in the Bible. Like that, we can't just pretend like we.
I think a lot of people get confused on they feel like because we don't know, that's not predestination because we don't know what's set before us. So we have that illusion of choice, but they don't understand it's due to the Father's power. He has a whole plan. You can't believe in prophecy and believe in Christ and know Christ coming back and then not believe in predestination.
Okay.
You don't believe that you're gonna be saved. Man, you don't know when it's gonna happen.
Yep. That's not even difficult. That should be especially if you just reading Paul's epistles mostly, you should be able to understand that. But you continue.
Come, verse 19. You will say to them, you will say to me then, why does he still find fault? For whom can resist his will? But who are you, O man, to answer back to God? Will what is molded say to his molder, why have you made me like this? Has the potter no right over the clay to make out of the same lump one vessel for honorable use and another for dishonorable use?
Yeah, so that proves predestination right there. And the election, one for honorable use and one for dishonorable use. There's a lot of people who's been made for dishonorable use. And one in particular is the LOE, right? The lineage of evil, the lineage of Esau, you know. But continue.
Excuse me. Verse 22, what if God, desiring to show his wrath and to make known his power, has endured much patience, vessels of wrath prepared for destruction, in order to make known the riches of his glory for vessels of mercy, which he has prepared beforehand for glory, even us whom he have called, not from the Jews only, but also from the Gentiles.
And see, this is where Christians say, it might just be the Jews. You might think it's just the Jews, but it's also the Gentiles too. Now, this is what I will never understand by Christians. Right? It's quoting something, right? It's just indeed, as he says in Hosea, right? And this is forwarded by the same people who basically are Christians as well. But they're saying Paul is using Hosea 1 to now apply that for the Gentiles instead of what he's talking about was happening through Christ being for the Gentiles. Because when we read this, can you go to Hosea 1? One of y'all hit it, Hosea 1.
I got you.
He's called not only us, but the Jews also, showing you how not the Jews, but of the Gentiles, these specific Gentiles are of the election. Who is that making reference to? The Hellenistic Jews who were scattered off from their people and became Hellenes, who became barbarians, who became
Scythians,
Egyptians, all these specific people who descend from the actual man Jacob, right? But forced themselves to be, somebody forced them, but some of them chose to become like these nations. These people through Christ can come back through his death and become just like how the people were, be just like how a Jew was in Judea. That's what he's really teaching you right here. But you can get this.
Gotcha. This is the book of Hosea, chapter 1 and verse 10. It says, yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, ye are the sons of the living God.
So hold on. You stop right there just for a second. We're going to read verse 11, but just stop just for a second. So this is making reference where they're saying what's going to be said to them, that you are not his people. If you're not the Lord's people, what does that make you? A Gentile.
Goy.
Goyim. So what happens so knowing that, there's going to come a time where Israelites become Gentiles according to prophecy. So, of course, Paul, when you see the people he's going to, just like when he said in 1 Corinthians 10 and 1 Corinthians 12, where he said that you were Gentiles carried away until these dumb idols, he's making reference to how this prophecy is going to proceed in the earth. But there's going to be one point when we forsake our God and become like the nations, and then after that, we're going to come back. How are we going to come back? Through Christ's death, because it covers that. In the law, there was no covering for that. There was no, once you do that, once you're casted off from the people, that's it. But now through Christ, you can return. And that's what Paul was preaching, and that's what Peter was preaching as well. So that's why he's using this prophecy right here to talk about what he's talking about election, because these specific people, hold up real fast, right? We're going to come back to that. These specific people are of the election, whether they're worshiping other gods or not. Because when you see this right here in Romans 11 and what was that? Was that Romans 11 and Romans 11 and 28? It says, as regards the gospel, they are enemies for your sake, but as regards election, why is it saying it like that? That's so weird. But as regards election, they are beloved for the fathers, for the sake of their fathers. So that's what makes us elect, but who we descend from. Right? That's where Paul's getting this from, and that's what the Torah and that's what the prophets say themselves, right? Which really is the Most High God. So even if you're worshiping another God and becoming like a Gentile, you're still part of the election, right? And there's a prophecy that you would end up doing that at one point. Hosea chapter 1 and 10. You will stop becoming the Lord's people, but again, you will become the Lord's people again through who? Through Hamashiach Yahushua. And we know that was talking about Christ. So when we go back to Hosea, now we can go to Hosea 1 again. All right. Go ahead.
A little bit. Okay. Yeah, I'm reading the ESV. It says, yet the number of the children shall be like the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured or numbered. And in the place where it was said to them, you are not my people, it shall be said to them, children of the living God. And the children of Judah and the children of Israel shall be gathered together, and they shall appoint for themselves one head, and they shall go up from the land, for great shall be the day of Jezreel.
The Lord's planting. That's what Jezreel means, right?
The Lord's
planting.
He's planting, huh? The only people that we see in the Bible referred to as these plants or these olive trees.
Yeah,
it's Israelites, but you know.
Christianity, but it says they're going to anoint themselves one head. What's that one head? That one King, Christ. That's his role that he plays in this, and that's because ultimately in verse 11, that's making reference to when we're gathered back into our land, we're a complete nation again, the northern and southern kingdom brought back together. That's why when you see in Jeremiah 31:31, Hebrews 8 and 8 makes reference to both nations under that covenant again, because as soon as we're brought back into the land, we're brought under the rod of the covenant again. So this happens. Right, that's why Christ had to die, and it's so easy to understand that when you're not like a Christian.
Isn't it correct me? Isn't that Ezekiel 37? Don't we see all these prophecies aligning?
It's Ezekiel 20, Ezekiel 37, Ezekiel 36, Ezekiel 34,
and in any of those prophecies, we don't see no heathen coming with them.
And in fact, we see a difference between that. With the difference between, matter of fact, let's get it real fast.
That's what I'm saying. Let's just go into let's go, because I see them being just supposed from the heathen here.
Yeah. So when you see, you want to read this?
I got you. Verse 21.
Yeah.
Okay. It says, then say to them, thus said the Lord God, behold, I will take the people of Israel from the nations among which they have gone, and whether them and will gather them from all around and bring them to their own land. And I will make them one nation in the land on the mountains of Israel, and one king shall be king over them all, and they shall be no longer two nations and no longer divided into two kingdoms. They shall not defile themselves any more with their idols and their detestable things, or with any of their transgressions, but I will save them from all the backsliding in which they have sinned, and I will cleanse them.
Hold on, Professor. I wanted to make notice because when we get later into this, it says he's going to save them from all their transgressions, and they won't transgress any longer. Just remember that. It says that about Israel. But continue.
And a notable thing, it says, and I will cleanse them. It's only one people getting cleansed. And they shall be my people, and I will be their God. Mm-hmm. My servant David shall be king over them, and they shall all have one shepherd. They shall walk in my rules and be careful to obey my statutes. They shall dwell in the land that I gave them to my servant Jacob, where your fathers live. They and their children and their children's children shall dwell there forever, and David my servant shall be their prince forever. I will make a covenant of peace with them. It shall be an everlasting covenant with them. Mm-hmm. And I will set them in their land and multiply them, and will set my sanctuary in their midst forevermore.
Mm-hmm. So the nations are going to know. Matter of fact, read verse 28.
Got you. I'm just 27. This is my dwelling place shall be with them, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. Then the nations will know that I am the Lord who sanctifies Israel, when my sanctuary is in the midst forevermore. I ain't gonna lie, that kind of plugs in with that kind of shows future reference to Isaiah 56, showing when they will notify and will understand and recognize who the Lord is and what he has.
And then also, Salak, previous chapter in Ezekiel 36, it literally tells in like verse 21 to 22 or 23, it says basically like they're gonna be grabbed out of all nations of the earth away from the heathen. And then it's going into, like you were just saying, in Ezekiel 37, it's showing the timeline that first Israel's getting gathered, and after they're gathered and they're taken from all countries and taken away from the heathens, then they'll be given that light, and then everybody else will know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But first we got to be sanctified. They'll see the grace, but everybody's getting pulled away. So it's showing that grace is being shown, and then Israel's being taken away.
God.
But the other nations, they're not there yet.
Yep. And that leads us all the way back to
Romans 9.
Romans 9.
Romans 9.
So when it says, even us whom we've called, not of the Jews only, but also of the Gentiles, he clarifies who these Gentiles are when he says this in Hosea 1. Right? They're literally, matter of fact, I'm gonna read it. Is as indeed he says in Hosea, those who are not my people, said that about Israel, I will call my people, and her who was not beloved, I will call beloved. And in the very place where it was said to them, you are not my people, there they will be called the sons of the living God. Right. And it also says in the next verse, and Isaiah cries out concerning Israel. Right. It says all of this goes back to Israel. Verbatim. All of these. Like it's crazy. It's crazy to just to think otherwise. I don't know why. I don't know why we're here. But I show all this to show that Romans 5 can't, like Romans, if you take Romans 5 and 18 and just isolate it, you can make it say whatever you want. All Romans 5 and 18 is saying this one man Adam brought death, this one man Christ brought life. That's the end of it. That's all it really means. Like there's more intricacies about that chapter, but that's the overarching point. This one man brought death, this one man brought life. This one's greater than this one. That's all Paul is saying right here. Now, that's how I would deal with that in a microwave way. Just in one more part, I want to deal with in a quick breakdown way. So Romans 15, where Paul is essentially saying the same exact thing. Could you read this, Cognac?
This is the book of
23.
This is the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 15 and verse 20. But in fact, Christ has been raised from the dead, the first fruits of those who have fallen asleep. For as by a man came death, by a man have come also the resurrection of the dead. For as in Adam all die, so also in Christ shall all be made alive. But each in his own order, Christ the first fruits, then at his coming, those who belong to Christ.
Mm-hmm. So he's saying the same exact things he's saying in Romans 5. So this is being purported to say like, oh, so everybody's gonna be made alive through Christ. Now that, like, even just in that doesn't make any sense. But if you read all the way, when you start reading from the beginning of this chapter, right, where he says that, verse 1, read verse 1 through 3.
For as by man came death, by man has also come the resurrection of the dead. Oh, I thought you had just misspoke. Salakia. That's on me. For verse 1, now I could remind you, brothers, of the gospel I preached to you, which you received, in which you stand, and by which you are being saved, if you hold fast to the word I preached to you, unless you believed in vain. For I could deliver to you, as of the first importance, what I also received, that Christ died for our sins in accordance with the scriptures.
Now that is incredibly important. So in this chapter, what's been purported, we go to 1 Corinthians 15, 20 through 23 to say that Christ died, make an attempt to say Christ died for everybody. But in the first verse, 1 through 3, Paul says Christ died for our sins according to the scriptures. So Christ's death is outlined in the prophecies, right? Somewhat in the Torah as well. That's outlined in the Torah and the prophets. I would need to see the Christological passages outlining Christ dying for anybody outside of Israel. The floor is yours. And what you're going to have to do now is lie. Because Isaiah 53 doesn't say that. Isaiah 59 doesn't say that. The angel in Exodus, I forgot, was it 23 or 24, talks about, it's basically a Christological passage. That doesn't mention anybody outside of Israel. Deuteronomy 18:18, I'll raise up a brethren, just like how you are, just like unto Moses. That's pointing to Israel. Every one of those Christological passages points to Israel. So if Christ died according to the scriptures in 1 Corinthians 15, when Paul says this, we can't now get 20 verses down to say something different than what Paul said in verses 1 through 3.
God.
That's not apologetic. I need people to understand that that's not apologetic. We can say whatever we want. Like, you can give whatever breakdown you want to give off of verses 20 to 23. But why does Paul say Christ died according to the scriptures, but I don't see Christ dying for everybody in the scriptures? What I mean by scriptures, I mean the Old Testament. Go ahead.
Why does Paul in his letters, anytime he's breaking something down, why is he referring to the Old Testament if it doesn't mean anything? Like, if it's not something, if he's not talking about a specific people or a specific topic, what's the point of going to go quoting the Old Testament? And it doesn't help. If a non-Israelite receives salvation, go to a verse in the OT that tells him that. Why would you use something about an Israelite? This makes no sense. Like, now I gotta play stupid. Now I gotta play like I can't read. I can't harmonize the Bible together. I have to play like I'm an idiot, and I don't like that, bro.
And I don't like it. And I refuse to do it. And I refuse to do it.
I refuse to do it.
Let's look back. That's how I would deal with that quickly. I mean, but there's more, but that's how I would deal with that quickly. But let's go back to that Romans 5 for a second, because I want to step through this. I don't like to just say I disagree and that'd be it. I'm gonna come with receipts. So can you read verses 12 through, where are we stopping it on that? 12 through 14.
God. This is the book of Romans, chapter 5, verse 12. Therefore, just as sin came into the world through one man, and death through sin, and so death spread to all men because all sinned. Mm-hmm. For sin indeed was the world before the law was given, but sin is not counted where there is no law. Yet death reigned from Adam to Moses, even over those whose sinning was not like the transgression of Adam, who was a type of the one who was to come. But the free gift is not like the trespass. So I was
going to say, right, what he's making reference to is that death that got brought down from Adam. What is that? That inclination to sin, right? And we're going to prove that with 2nd Esdras. Let's go to 2nd Esdras chapter 3. Read this now.
Come. This is the book of 2nd Esdras chapter 3, start at verse 20. God, yeah. Mm-hmm. But you didn't take away from them the inclination to do evil, so that your law might bear fruit in them. The first Adam, burdened with this inclination, disobeyed you and was overcome, but so were all those descended from him. The disease became permanent. The law was in the people's heart, along with the wicked root, and that which was good departed at the slide. And that which was good departed, and the wickedness remained. Time passed, and years were completed, and you raised up for yourself a servant named David. You told him to build a city to your name and to bring you offerings. And to bring you offerings, and to bring you offerings in it from what is yours. This was done for many years.
Oh God! So that what was passed down to all of us is that inclination to sin. That's why you have that internal mind to do opposite of what the commandments. That's all what all of us had before coming into the truth, right? And the thing is, when you see people doing things, and I want to say this too, because in light of all the things that's happened in the last few days, right? A lot of people really aren't in the truth like that. Like people just say the truth. What's the truth? The law, statutes, commandments of Christ. Yeah, but it's spiritually that. Like you have a spiritual change. That's what's brought on by Christ. When you see people who just like anybody could put fringes on, anybody could put a beard in their face. You have Arabs in Islam. They wear certain garments. They have beards. They don't eat pork. Are we going to say they're in the spirit? No. It's a mental and spiritual change that happens inside of you. And if you see people doing things like transgressing, like behind closed doors, and their integrity has been challenged, that's the people who hasn't really been changed and have had that Holy Spirit come upon them. Because that's what Paul is talking about here in Romans chapter 5, twofold. Meaning when he died, Christ died so the comforter can be passed on to all of us, the thing that makes us remember what Christ taught us. And when we get into our land again, we delivered again, we get brought under the rod of that covenant. Christ already paid that price through his death. When we get brought under the rod of that covenant, then we get the Holy Spirit without measure, like how he did. We don't transgress anymore without any type of excuses. We have everything we need. There's nothing there's nothing stopping us at that point. That's when that disease of Adam, which you just read right here in 2nd Esdras, how it said it was made permanent, that's when it's gone away. And we see a portion of that come when Christ died and gave us the Holy Spirit. Like us, like when we go throughout life, let me actually get this right while I'm saying this. When we go throughout life, us being in the truth in a spiritual sense, we have to fight our mental. We have to fight our mental that tells us to do things that are evil. Do things like hating your brother, bearing grudges. Like when I said I'm talking about the harder things. Plenty of Israelites will put fringes on, but I mean the harder things, like being talebearers, like being slanderers, like what's another one? Just like you could even put adultery.
Yeah, adultery.
Yeah, because a lot of people will do that. A lot of people will. Some people say, well, if they're not believing like how you doing, you could just put them away. That's not what Christ. Crazy. That's not what the Torah says, bro. Like there's things like that, the harder ones that people can't see, right? When you give into your inclination to do those things, you're being of the devil. The whole reason Christ showed up is to free us from that mind state in this present and evil world. That's what Peter says. That's his whole point of him coming to destroy the disease of Adam. And who did he do that for? What did the prophecy say? Israel. But let's read this. It's going to back everything I just said. Read this 1 John 3:8.
This is the book of 1 John, chapter 3, and verse 8. Whoever makes a practice of sinning is of the devil, for the devil had been sinning from the beginning. The reason the Son of God appeared was to destroy the works of the devil.
The works of the devil is sin. Who did the Holy Spirit descend upon in Acts chapter 2? Jews from all nations. Who are the people right now? As far as just we're going to look at a nationality of people who are keeping the commandments, like legitimately. Like we can't say people are going to say, "What about the Jewish people?" Right? But are they? We're going to think about, are they? We saw like a few years ago they did a Pew Research study. 90% of them are secular.
So about 60% of them.
You said what?
60% of them are secular. They don't.
I could have said 90.
Oh, it's 90 now?
I read 90 a few years ago.
Oh yeah, when I I want to say when I first was coming to truth in like 2021, it was 65. So it could have changed, bro. It could have changed.
I mean, it could be. You could be right. I could be right. We'll find out. The comment section. People are waiting for us to say something wrong. That's the only time they're going to comment. So
that's it.
They'll probably leave a comment. It's just one of these. But yeah, we are the only people who are making an earnest attempt to do this. Who are waking up and then trying to keep the commandments of God. Right? That's a partition of the disease of Adam being destroyed. It'll completely be destroyed in the kingdom war under the new covenant, but right now, it's the Holy Spirit has come upon us through Christ's death. That's the whole reason why Christ appeared, to destroy the work of the devil, which is transgression, which comes through that inclination to sin, right? I just saw your pause. I was like, how the hell did he do that? I saw you comment on there. I was like,
oh yeah, I got my phone. I've been looking in the chat and everything too on the side.
Yeah, got it. But I was gonna say his whole purpose is to make it to where we have the ability in this present evil world to turn from these transgressions, to fight that inclination to transgress. All right. So read verse 9.
Verse 9. No one born of God makes a practice of sinning, for God's seed abides in him, and he cannot keep on sinning because he has been born of God.
And this is how you know certain people when things come out about certain people, that really wasn't somebody who's changed. You can't say you changed and this is what you do and this is how you act. You can't do that. Right? And everybody will say you can't judge me, but I mean, this is literally how you can judge somebody to see if they're really of God or not. Why would this be said if you're wrong for doing it? But like I was saying, this is the whole purpose of Christ coming to where you can be born again, so you don't make a practice of sinning. Read verse 10. We can keep moving.
Verse 10. You scroll down just a little bit for me, so I can finish that full verse out. Verse 10. By this it is evident who are the children of God and who are the children of the devil. Whoever does not practice righteousness is not of God, nor is the one who does not love his brother.
Mm-hmm. And it's just as simple as that, bro. The children of God are made manifest by their actions and their doings. That's why in James chapter 2, it talks about, I'll show you my faith by my works. You can show me your faith without your works, but I'll show you my faith by my works. Because faith without works is dead. But faith with works is perfection. So let's go back into Romans 5 real fast. So let's jump down to verse 15.
Verse 15. But the free gift is not like the trespass. For many died through one man's trespass, much more have the grace of God and the free gift by the grace of that one man, Yahushua HaMashiach, abounded for many. And the free gift is not like the result of that one man's sins. For the judgment following one trespass brought condemnation, but the free gift following many trespasses brought justification. For because of one man's trespass, death reigned through that one man. Much more will those who receive the abundance of grace and the free gift of righteousness reign in life through the one man, Yahushua HaMashiach.
So we see in prophecy who the glorification and who the justification is for in prophecy. We also see it through what Paul talked about in Romans 8 and Romans 9. So when we look at this through non-Christian eyes and actually be a Jew and have an understanding, you can read this as you can read this and come to the conclusion what Paul is trying to say is through this one man brought death and through this one man brought justification. And who Christ brought the justification through is outlined in the prophecies. Just like how Paul said in 1 Corinthians 15 and 1 through 3, Christ died according to the scriptures for our transgressions. Who did that happen to? Israel. Now, through that death, it like I said earlier, it gave us the Holy Spirit, like it outlines in John 14 and 15 about how the Holy Spirit comes upon us and it forces us to remember what Christ taught us. That's what he told the disciples. right? And it compels us to do righteous works. That's why we do what we do. So that's one part about how it's destroying the disease of Adam. But we have to talk about this threefold, right? About that one part about the Holy Spirit and him being the down payment for the new covenant. So let's go to Hebrews 9. Can you read that for me? Hebrews 9:15.
Gotcha. It's the book of Hebrews, chapter 9, and verse 15. It says, therefore, he is the mediator of a new covenant, so that those who are called may receive the promised eternal inheritance. Since a death has occurred that redeems them from the transgressions committed under the first covenant, for where a will is involved, the death of one who made it must be established.
Now check this out, right? What about anything that's happening in Hebrews 9 and 15 leads you to believe that the new covenant is for non-Israelites? Where can you get that? Because it says, therefore, he is a mediator. He's the in-between party between us and the Father, showing you how he's not the Father. But it says of the new covenant, right? We see in Hebrews 8 and 8, it's a new covenant for Israel and for Judah. Jeremiah 31:31, the new covenant for Israel and for Judah. So they're not getting in there. It says, so that those who are called according to Paul and prophecy, right? In Isaiah and in Paul's epistles, Israel, that they might receive the promised eternal inheritance. That's the promise of Abraham. The promise of Abraham, we look throughout Genesis, is to his seed. Other nations benefit from it, but who it's given to is to his seed. So they're not in there. It says, since a death has occurred that redeems them from the transgressions that were under the first covenant. That's not everybody. Because if that was for everybody, they would all be up under the curses. But now, since white is the new black, now they can try to slide it in there.
Try to throw it in there now. Hey, shove that in the doctrine. That'll help you out, man.
Yeah, but if we're gonna be sincere about it, that's like they're not dealing with the curses in totality.
At all.
Right. So he paid for it that way. Now, and this is all going into destroying the disease of Adam, that death, that inclination to transgress. So let's look at this new covenant. Jeremiah 31:31. Whoever wants to read that, we can get it.
I got you. Behold, the days are coming, declared the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah. It says, not like the covenant that I made with their fathers on the day when I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt. My covenant that they broke, though I was their husband, declares the Lord. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, declares the Lord. I will put my law within them, and I will write it on their hearts, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. And no longer shall each one teach his neighbor and each his brother, saying, know the Lord, for they shall all know me, from the least of them to the greatest, declares the Lord. For I will forgive their iniquity, and I will remember their sin no more.
All of that is possessive. I have no reason to believe this is making reference to non-Israelites. None. Right? So this is like how it's a threefold thing about how it's destroying the disease of Adam. First and foremost, when Christ died, the Holy Spirit was given to help us fight the inclination. Like it's called the Comforter or the Helper in the newer translations, right? It helps us conquer the inclination to transgress. Through his death, he paid for this covenant, because for any of these covenants to be established, there has to be blood. Now, the third way, when we're brought into this covenant, we're forced to keep the commandments. We don't have an option. So if we're forced to keep these commandments without any option, that disease of Abraham, that disease of Adam, that inclination to transgress is completely melted away from us. But you know who still has that? The heathen. The heathen still has that. Mm-hmm. So if the heathen will still have that according to prophecy, that means Romans 5 can't mean what you are talking about.
It doesn't even fit.
1 Corinthians can't mean what you are talking about. But it gets even worse. It gets even worse. So let's go to Ezekiel. Right, Ezekiel 16. I'm gonna put this one in NLT because that like it's saying the same thing, so it's not really like a weird thing, but it makes it so clear in the NLT. Right. Watch this. Start at 59. Whoever wants to get that.
I got you, bro. This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 16 and verse 59. Now this is what the sovereign Lord says: I will give you what you deserve, for if you have taken your solemn vows lightly by breaking your covenant. Yet I will remember the covenant I made with you when you were young, and I will establish an everlasting covenant with you. Then you will remember the shame and all the evil you have done. I will make your sisters, Samaria and Sodom, to be your daughters.
Hold up, stop right there. Hold up, stop right there. Right now, contextually, when you read this whole chapter, Sodom and Samaria is making reference to the nations, right? All the nations outside of Israel. Like, because we're 60 verse 61 at that point. There's a whole breakdown where the nations are being used like a nameplate for that is Sodom and Samaria, right? That's what's happening right there. So when it's saying this right here, it's making reference to the nations. So read that verse again from the top.
Come. Then you will remember with shame all the evil you have done. I will make your sisters, Samaria and Sodom, to be your daughters, even though they are not a part of our covenant.
They're what?
Even though they are not a part of our covenant.
They're not a part of our covenant. That's the new covenant. It says an everlasting covenant right here. So he's going to reaffirm it. He's going to say, it says, and I will reaffirm my covenant with you. He's saying reaffirm because when we see the word new covenant, the word new there, I believe in the New Testament and the Old Testament, it doesn't mean like it's just going to a completely new thing. It's a refreshing of something. What is that refreshing? The refreshing of the old covenant. What they call the old covenant. When the Lord read all the laws to us and we agreed to do those things, and then we turned around and did the opposite right after it.
Right.
He's going to reaffirm that covenant, and through him reaffirming it, we don't have the inclination to transgress them any longer. And the heathen, according to this prophecy, are not a part of that. So the inclination to do evil is still within them. And that comes through the inclination to do evil being erased from you is what Christ came to bring. So that means Christ didn't die for them. Like we have to stop it, bro. Go ahead.
I was saying, especially if we see in the future prophecy that we have to rebuke the nations. We have to correct them. What's the point of us correcting the nations if they was gonna be part of the new covenant?
Yep.
There's nothing to correct.
So let's do a little bit more in this, right? So let's go to get that back out of that. Isaiah 65. Isaiah 65, 17. Whoever want to get that.
You got it, you want me to get it, bro?
Go ahead.
This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 65, verse 17. For behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former things shall not be remembered or come into mind. But be glad and rejoice forever in that which I create.
Hold on. He says, behold, I create new heavens and a new earth. The former things shall not be remembered or come into mind. This is making reference to New Jerusalem being saved. This is going into kingdom connotation passages. And I need that to be important. I need people to understand why that's important, because somebody will disagree with you when you say that. Right? So you need to be able to prove that. How would we go to prove that? Revelation 21. Watch this. Revelation 21:1. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth was passed away, and the sea was no more. It says, and I saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. Right? What time period does that take place in? When Israel's delivered. Who is this holy city coming down? Israel. How do we prove that? How do we prove that not that this is Israel? It is Israel, but how do we prove that this is a people and not a physical city? Like how Gazam said the other day when we was in class, by the measurements of the city that's coming down, but also the passages right here in Revelation 13 and 12, the one that I use against these that I use against the people at that Christian conference. Revelation 3 and 12, it says, the one who conquers, I will make him a pillar in the temple of my God. never shall he go out of it. And I will write on him the name of my God, the name of the city of my God. That's the city, the new Jerusalem, which comes down from my God out of heaven, and mine own new name. So that's how we know that this is making reference to people, right? So this is kingdom connotation, going into like eschatology, kingdom connotation, XYZ, right? So that's how we would prove that. Isaiah 65 is talking about that same exact time. So let's read this. Can you read that Isaiah 65 again?
God. Isaiah 65:17. For behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former things shall not be remembered or come into mind. I'll be glad and rejoice forever in that which I create. For behold, I create Jerusalem to be a joy, and her people to be a gladness. I will rejoice in Jerusalem and be glad in my people. No more shall be heard in it the sound of weeping and the cry of distress. No more shall there be in it an infant who lives but a few days, or an old man who does not fill out his days. For the young man shall die 100 years old, and a sinner 100 years old shall be accursed.
Oh, stop right there. Stop right there. So it says, this is kingdom connotation. So it says a young man shall die 100 years old, and the sinner 100 years old shall be accursed. So during kingdom connotation, when the kingdom is going on, there's going to be people who transgress the laws of God, right? Who is this? Because we see in Hebrews 8:8, Jeremiah 31, Ezekiel 36, Ezekiel 37, Ezekiel 34, Ezekiel 20, Ezekiel 16, Israel's being brought under that covenant. And under that new covenant, they cannot transgress. So this has to be somebody. Who is that somebody? The heathen. So they cannot be justified. They cannot be justified in the way that Israel is going to be justified, which is through Christ. That's not, no. They're going to be transgressors. That's why you see it in Zechariah 8. Watch this. Zechariah 8:23. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, in those days 10 men from the nations of every tongue shall take hold of the robe of a Jew, saying, let us go with you, for we have heard that God is with you. So God isn't with them. If they're right, if they're righteous and they're already justified, then why do they have to go find an Israelite to go learn of God?
Why don't they get the light up?
Why don't they get the light? Like I just don't understand it. I just don't understand it.
I want to say, if you go into the Hebrew for that accursed, is talking about. I went into the Brown Drivers Briggs. It's talking about being cursed by death. What brings you death?
Oh, the disease of Adam.
The sins of Adam. So that shows you in the kingdom, they still gonna have the disease on them, which, i.e., while we have to be the light to them. They're gonna be like little badass kids in the kingdom. We got to get them right.
We gotta get them right. And so when we get to Romans 5:18 again, right? It says, therefore, as one trespass led to condemnation for all men, so shall one act of righteousness lead to justification and life for all men. So what this has to be talking about is what I said earlier. This one man brought condemnation. This one man brought life. This life that he brought is greater than the condemnation that was brought upon men. Who does this one man, who is applicable for this justification that is talking about according to prophecy? Israel. Who's under the new covenant? Israel. Who doesn't have the ability to be under the disease of Adam? Israel. But who will still continue to be under that? The heathen. So that means when Paul is saying all men right here, getting justification, it cannot mean literally all nations, especially when you have Romans 8 and Romans 9. But when you isolate scriptures and try to be a Christian, that's what you do. That's the conclusion you come to. You know, there's nothing they can do. But brother right here said, can you brothers touch Zechariah 2 with all nations being his people? We already did in our presentation. What is that? Let me link that.
Yeah, he went into it, but just a quick answer. You gotta read verses, read chapter 2, read 6 all the way down to 11 because it's showing you when all this happens. See, what's going on is people only reading that one part where it says that they are going to join us, and it makes it sound like, oh, well, then that mean they're getting set. No, we actually just brought it out too in Ezekiel 37. Once we get gathered and we become one nation, then the heathen see the sanctification of God through us. Then they come and learn from us and come join to us.
Yeah, but just briefly, right? Because it's not like it. Let me just go to it.
Yeah, it's not.
Because I mean, we're pretty much finishing that Romans 5. So let me just. I'm gonna start at 7. Right. So Zechariah 2:7. It says, "Up, escape to Zion, you who dwell with the daughter of Babylon." Right. So in the end times, Israel is going to be with Babylon, in Babylon. Right. For thus saith the Lord of hosts, after his glory sent me to the nations who plundered you, for he who touches you touches the apple of his eye. Behold, I will shake my hand over them. This is going into what we're talking about in Revelation 18, or pretty much all of the passages about Babylon being destroyed. Is that they shall become plunder for those who have served them. Then you will know that I, the Lord of hosts, has sent me. That's so weird. Is to sing and rejoice, O daughter of Zion, for behold, I come and I dwell in your midst, declares the Lord. It says, and many nations shall join themselves to the Lord in that day, and shall be, I should become like it's the KJV, to be my people, and I will dwell in your midst, and you shall know that the Lord of hosts have sent me to you. So we see right here from verses 7 all the way to verse 7 to 9, we see Israel being delivered from Babylon the Great and the Lord destroying Babylon the Great. Then after that, through the expanse of time, after we've been built for a minute, nations are going to join unto us as far as worship, as far as being tributary, not really tribute. They're already going to be tributaries to us, but they're going to join and then follow our God. They're going to have to, but they're not going to have the inclination of wickedness outside of them. They're always going to have, like how we have right now, we have to fight what our mind and our flesh wants us to do. That's not going to be taken from them, but they're going to try to come and serve our God. That's all of this is talking about. It's like that's what it means about being his people. You see that outlined like in Isaiah 56, which happens after the temple has been created. Right. That's what's happening.
But so you see it again in Jeremiah 3 and 17 through 19.
Yeah. And Jeremiah 12.
Yep.
When it says, matter of fact, let's hit that actually.
It's all over the place.
Where is that? Where does it say that in Jeremiah 12? It's right here.
15.
Hit this real quick.
It's Jeremiah 12 and verse 14. It says, thus said the Lord concerning all my evil neighbors who touch the heritage that I have given my people Israel to inherit. Behold, I will pluck them up from their land, and I will pluck up the house of Judah from among them. And after I have plucked them up, I will again have compassion on them, and I will bring them again, each to his heritage and each to his land.
So this is making reference to us and them. So it's going to come a time where like we see the new heavens and new earth, like that's going into the revitalized earth and the new rulerships being our rulership, right? So he says he's going to pluck them up just like how we were plucked up. He said, after I plucked them, I will again have compassion on them. Who is that in this aspect of verse 15? Everybody. He's going to have compassion on us. Like he's going to have compassion on Israel first and then build us up. And then he's going to bring everybody back to their own land. That's why you see in Zechariah 14, what I forgot which verse it is, like the number wise, but they're like the Egyptians are going to be back in their land. They have to come up to Jerusalem and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. If they don't do that, the Lord's going to put a drought upon their land. It literally says that in Zechariah chapter 14, like the second half of it. So people are going to go like after they've served us, they're going to go back into their land. And it says, and I will bring them again, each to his heritage and each to his land. And it shall come to pass, if they will diligently learn the ways of my people to swear by my name as the Lord lives, even as they taught my people to swear by Baal, then they should be built up in the midst of my people. That's what Zechariah 2 is making reference to. That's what that's going into. Y'all got anything you want to add?
Just saying, this is all another place the brother can go to is Isaiah chapter 2. Like this is a how do you say it? Like it's a you said it before, but you said it again.
Progressive.
It's progressive. Like after the kingdom not gonna be built forever. It's gonna come a time where everything's gonna be built. So then boom, after that, the heathen go back into their heritage, their own land, and then they gotta come up and learn from us. That's just about it's it.
Forever. Like that's
if they don't, then it's death.
Death or a drought or some type of damn curse. You're gonna be fried.
Yeah, either way it goes.
I mean, the shoot. Just thinking, matter of fact, when you look at that in Zechariah 14, because like think about what a drought brings. Because like a drought to us, damn near exterminated our race. You see what happened with Joseph, and he went down to Egypt, and the Lord, I forgot if it was him or the Lord said like, he was put there basically so he can establish our race. What was that? I said that in the freaking presentation. What verse is that? Let me find that verse.
Where it says he was put there to establish. Isn't it in Psalms?
No, I'm paraphrasing it. Let me open up PowerPoint real quick.
Yeah. If anybody tries to like, you said what's that again?
Oh, you go ahead and say what you say.
I was just about to say, if anybody tries to hit you with the okie doke and be like, well, see, it says these non-Israelites are going to join to us. Yeah, duh, they're going to have to. They're not giving you the full spectrum of the timeline of how this thing plays out. After we get saved, we're exalted. We are the top nation on earth. You're going to have to come learn from us, brother, or you're going to die.
No cap. And then the double down on what you're saying, even in our law, if we do have a vassal or anybody that's joined unto us, they have to get circumcised. They have to do certain things.
You become forced labor. They say in Deuteronomy 20, the people who when we tell them, hey, we're finna come take over your land, and they submit to us, you become forced labor.
Yeah.
It's in our Torah.
Yeah, this is what I was making reference to. Genesis 45 and 4. It says, so Joseph said to his brothers, come near to me, please. And they came near, and he said, I am your brother Joseph, whom you sold into Egypt. And now do not be distressed or angry with yourselves because you sold me here. For God sent me before you to preserve life. For the famine has been in the land these 2 years, and there are yet 5 years in which there will be neither plowing nor harvest. Why? Because I believe it was a drought that came upon the land, right?
Yeah, it was very,
famine, drought, it's going to be bad.
Yeah, so when you have a famine and drought upon your land, that causes death. So it was in the Lord's plan that Joseph be sold to Egypt so that he had the ability to preserve their nation, to preserve the rest of the children of Jacob. That's why it's stressed so hard when you see in Zechariah 14, when you read this. Let me see the plague. Where is this at?
16.
Yeah, read this actually.
God, this is the book of Zechariah, chapter 14 and verse 16. Then everyone who survives of all the nations that have come against Jerusalem shall go up year after year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and to keep the feast of booths. And if any of the families of the earth do not go up to Jerusalem to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, there will be no rain on them. And if the family of Egypt do not go up and present themselves, then on them shall be no rain. There shall be the plague of what the Lord afflicts the nations that do not go up to keep the feast of booths.
So that's gonna, matter of fact, hit the next verse too.
God, this shall be the punishment to Egypt and the punishment to all the nations do not go up to keep the feast of booths.
So that's that right there. You know, that's actually in the curses of Deuteronomy chapter 28. They're getting Deuteronomy 28 if they don't come up and essentially go keep the Feast of Tabernacles with us, or the feast of booths. They don't have that option. And what's crazy about that and why this is stressed, a famine and not having rain upon your land, that causes mass death. That causes interfighting. That causes people fighting over resources. That causes you not being able to support your livestock. You not being able to support yourself. That's a hell of a punishment for you not coming up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. And you know somebody's gonna mess around and find out about this though, because it wouldn't be here if it's not gonna happen. We're showing you how they still have the disease of Adam, because why they thought they could even do this in the first place.
And if you read, can you go back up to verse where was it? Where it started? Where it says after the survivors of the nation.
Yeah.
Was it 16? It says everyone who survived. This is after we have already went through and showed them that if you don't get down, you die. Still further in the kingdom, there's gonna be somebody that's gonna be like, nah, I know we submitted to the Israelites, but I'm not going to the Feast of Booth this year. Okay, cool. You'll be an example.
You'll be an example, right? You know, it's always got to be one guy. It's always got to be one guy.
Yeah, you gotta have it.
Let me see this. Where is this at? Because I want to show that this is, right here. Deuteronomy 28:24. The Lord will make the rain of your land powder, from heaven dust shall come down on you until you are destroyed. That's what they're getting. It's your the Lord is destroying you systematically. If you don't come up, if these nations don't come up to the feast and do what we do. Because the thing is, why it's saying in Zechariah 2 how they're going to become the Lord's people is because what makes us the Lord's people? The covenant in which he enjoined us to. They're going to have to come up to Jerusalem and keep these commandments, right? They're going to get told them, and they're going to have to do that. If you don't do that, like we see in Zechariah 14, he's going to put Deuteronomy 28:24 on you. He's going to make the rain of your land into powder, and dust is going to come down until you're destroyed. That's what's going to happen. So it's not like, it shouldn't just be a thing where, like, because a lot of people see like, oh, heathen are becoming the Lord's people. What does that mean? That's not that deep. There will always be a difference between us and them. Just like it says in it was at Exodus where the Lord what does it say? He put a difference between Israel and the Egyptians.
God.
Yeah, there'll always be a difference between all of us. But yeah, man, that's the majority of what we got, right? Of what we did to, like, as far as like the breakdown I want to go into. I have more verses, but I will say this though, like as far as when I'm talking about the Holy Spirit, about how when Christ died, he put the Comforter, he allowed the Comforter or the Helper to come help us, right? To teach us all the things that Christ taught us. Paul follows that up in the next chapter, in Romans chapter 6. The whole thing, like literally the whole thing, is the beginning of what Christ did when he died. Like that explains what the Comforter comes to do, right? I put that in my lesson, but I think it'd be kind of a lot to read 23 verses that all pretty much say the same thing. Yeah. So I just want to mention that. If anybody wants to go back and read that, that highlights what I was talking about. But yeah, man, I hope everybody was edified. Hit the like button. If you love your brethren, share it if you love your brethren. Leave a comment. Tell us how we're wicked. I'll see your comment down there and I'll look at it and I'm just like, yeah, that's one comment that helped me in the algorithm.
Right.
It's two words. It's SEO and engagement. I'll look at your comment. I was like, yes. That's how it would be. It's a cool story, bro. But if be on your heart, Cash App, the Masada DTX, or leave a super chat. Also, what's y'all's Cash App? Y'all got
we got to start a new one. So
okay, got it.
We still good. Yeah. But if y'all want to donate, just hit on our channel, hit in the comments, hey, how can you donate to us, and we'll be able to direct you where to send the money.
Just send it to Masada. We got him. I promise.
We'll hold it for him.
We'll hold it for him until they get. We'll hold it down.
But no, and the reason why I mention this too, because people always like, "Oh yeah, you guys just want money." But the thing is, alms cover a multitude of sins, right? People need a place to give alms where it makes sense, like when you're getting like a place where you're getting fed from. For so long, we've been giving it to the Christian church, and they've been giving us a pork sandwich after church, and like that's why I bring that up, though. But with that, I'm gonna say, call halal Yahweh by Shema Mashiach Yahweh Shai, man. Shalom.
Shalom.